Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabanz. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty cool show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel if you haven't already. Now, this is a pretty interesting one. As you guys know, FS1 has had some pretty significant shakeups over the last 2 years. We've seen personalities like Shannon Sharpe leave the network. We've seen just recently Bayless leave Undisputed, and recently we had a shakeup there with Undisputed, where they canceled the show. They brought in a new cast called The Facility, and it's doing its thing. We saw Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce move to the other show with Joy Taylor. So they have a lot of things going on. We saw Chris Broussard leave The Odd Couple with Rob Parker to go be 100% full time with First Things First. So there's a lot of things going on. But this morning I was going through the internet and I went to a website I hadn't visited in quite some time. And that website is Front Office Sports. And I came across a pretty interesting article that was published on their site a few days ago. And it says, Nick Wright signing Fox extension, cementing future face of FS1. And I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting because now it seems like FS1 is leaning 100% on Nick Wright, and we actually heard some rumors about this, especially around the time when we heard that Skip Bayless was leaving the network, that they could be looking at making the face of the network Nick Wright. And I was like, okay, this should be a pretty interesting read. But before we get into what this article had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks makes it easy to get real money action on sports and players you love. Pick more or less on 2 or more players in any sport to win up to 100 times your entry fee. For example, here's a possible winning player projection lineup: Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards and Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards, and CB Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. And if you're like me and you want to play safe, you will love the new features PrizePicks invented: Flex Plays. Flex Pays are the safest way to play PrizePicks. You can still make a profit or win some money back even if a couple of your picks don't hit. On top of this, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. All right, let's get into what the article had to say. It says, in August, some executives told us they believed Wright was the future of the network. Since changing time slots, First Things First posted a 53% increase in viewership. It continues on. Nick Wright will sign a new long-term contract to remain with Fox Sports, FS1's network. Front Office Sports has learned. The 40-year-old Wright, who co-hosts First Things First, has become one of the biggest stars in sports media. Fox declined to comment. Securing a long-term relationship with Wright is smart business. He's becoming the network's second biggest personality behind Colin Cowherd, whose current deal expires in 2025. In August, some executives told us they believe Wright was the future of the network. With the 72-year-old Skip Bayless out the door, the move signals FS1's building around the young, charismatic Wright, especially if the 60-year-old Colin Cowherd returns to his former home at ESPN, or if the longtime host of The Herd with Colin Cowherd steps away to focus on his fast-growing podcast network, The Volume. Why not? Wright and on-air partners Chris Broussard and Kevin Wiles are delivering the goods for FS1. I think the trio has the best chemistry at FS1. The show has its most watched year in 2023, and since moving to the current 3 p.m. weekday time slot, has posted a 53% increase in viewership through September. Wright has been a mainstay on First Things First since it debuted as the morning lead into Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe's debate show in 2017. His clout is growing. Wright successfully lobbied management to hire Chicago sports radio host Danny Parkins, a close friend from their days at Syracuse, for their new morning program, Breakfast Ball. I've been doing the show for a long time. The show has not always been great. Thanks to Wiles and Brew, we're able to do it, Wright told the New York Post in April. I'm incredibly proud of the show, and it's gratifying that people are watching us. Wright, a Kansas City native and number one Chiefs booster in sports media, his popular Mahomes Mountain segment has become a show within a show, drawing celebrity guests like Heidi Gardner and Saturday Night Live Joe McHale. On the digital front, the Wrights, What's Right with Nick Wright's podcast on YouTube show boosts 165,000 subscribers, while First Things First has 894. Wright has roughly 1 million social media followers across X, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram alone. So, what are my thoughts on this? Well, as the article alluded to, this was their best move left. I tend to agree with them for a few reasons. Firstly, because of his age. Nick Wright is 40 years old. So it means that he has the energy. He's going to be spry enough to do this job for the next 10 to 15, even 20 years if he so decides to do so. Apart from his crazy LeBron James and Michael Jordan takes, he does seem to understand sports, although sometimes he can rage bait people with some of the stuff that he says on the NBA front. And I disagree with him vehemently on a lot of his NBA views, especially when it comes to the GOAT and all that. I think he trolls people a lot of the time. But if we're talking about the show First Things First, it's a very good show. It is very fun to watch. It is very entertaining. I think the cast, the trio that they have there, have great chemistry with one another, not just because the article said it, but because I've seen a lot of the shows there. I think Kevin Wiles plays off of Chris Broussard very well. I think Chris, for example, if you look at Chris Broussard's role on the show, especially during their basketball segments, he does a very good job at pushing back on Nick Wright without making the thing look awkward, like the way it did on Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. Like there, it got very contentious. I've never seen a moment like that. I've seen some behind the scenes footage of these guys. They all seem to genuinely get along swell. Like they all seem to like each other. And I think it's a great show. And it's no surprise that the show is doing so well. Now, in terms of the time slot, it being at 3 p.m., I think the 3 p.m. slot is the same time slot with the Pat McAfee show. I could be wrong. I don't watch the Pat McAfee show. I'm not in the States, so I don't know the time slots offhand. But I think it's a smart move for them. Given the fact that they've said that Colin Cowherd could either be returning to ESPN or focusing on the Volume podcast network. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I don't have any issues with it. And I think the show will continue to do well, quite honestly. And I think that, it's a smart move on their part. I don't agree with everything that Nick Wright says, but hey, more power to him. The guy works hard. He's earned it. He deserves every dollar that he gets. Good for him. So the question to the audience is the following. Number one, what do you think about FS1 deciding to make Nick Wright the face of the network? And number two, do you think that Colin Cowherd will ultimately move on from FS1 and go back to ESPN? Do you think he will go do the podcast, or do you think he'll stay? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.